So welcome, my name is Sho.
I'm Annika. We're both PCAs, which are peer career advisors, who work at the Loeb Center. And I'm assuming most of you know what PCAs are by now, but just in case you don't, we can review resumes, cover letters, basically talk to you about anything career related and help you get started on that path.
Yeah, so I'm sure you're not thinking like, what is my career going to be right now, but the Loeb Center is here to help you explore different industries or experiences and get you guided on going on that journey. So today we're going to go through a few steps in terms of like setting you up, and I'm assuming a lot of you are here for the MAMMOTH Select program. I've heard of it at least, and this is kind of one of the prerequisites in terms of being registered for the program. So you're all in the right place, and we're going to help you get started with that process now.
And a lot of that is going to be thinking about your summer plans and what you want to do this summer.
So before we get started, we're just going to establish a few community rules. So the first is making sure to use I statements. We might share a lot of experiences, but some of them might be unique to us, just so making sure that we're speaking from like a personal place. And number two is what is shared in this room stays in this room. So because people are sharing some experiences that might be personal, or they might not want that to be shared in other spaces, just to make sure that you take what you learn, but not exactly the details of everything. And I mean, the number three, that kind of ties in, and just maintaining confidentiality.
So don't go repeating what you hear other people say.
Right, yeah.
So the summer experience cycle, we have it up here in like a beautiful format. And one of the things we want to think through is like, let's say that you and a group of your friends are planning a huge trip to take next summer after classes end. Kind of a sensitive topic because my friends and I are trying to do that right now. No one in the group knows where to go, what you want to do, anything like that. You're not even sure about dates or how much money it's going to cost or transportation and lodging. But your friends are really great and they put you in charge of literally everything. So how are you going to begin? And just, you can shout out or raise your hands and Sho can call on you. Or... No one knows how they would begin?
Figure out where you want to visit.
Good. That is definitely a first step.
We'll just point at random people.
Set a budget that you want to stick to.
Yeah, for sure.
So basically the point of this exercise, which hopefully you guys are thinking about, is if you can figure out how to plan for a summer vacation, then you have all the skills and knowledge you need to figure out a plan of how to search and plan for a summer experience, like an internship or research opportunity. And ideally, your search process is going to have a couple of different steps. Cool. So your first one is going to be doing a reflection through self-assessments like StrengthsFinder or the MBTI tests that are super popular for some reason, in order to get a better understanding of what your interests, your values, and your various strengths are. And you're going to want to define, and then after that, you're going to want to define your goals and your priorities for the next year. So like if you're trying to figure out if law school is right for you, maybe you want to look at a law firm or something in policy. Or if you really want to go into med school, maybe you want to look at research opportunities and things like that. The third thing you're going to want to do is just plain research, like looking at what opportunities are available, talking to faculty, talking to staff members, talking to your family, friends, and other people, and also trying to network throughout this process with other people who have, been there. The fourth thing you're going to want to do is learn your resources and get organized. Once you've identified the type of experience you want, and don't worry, we'll go over this, you can use your priorities as a guide to evaluate the potential opportunities, and then you're going to want to find resources that can help you find those opportunities, like MAMMOTH Select, which you're all in a workshop for right now, Handshake, which is great, Glassdoor.com, although personally I'd use Glassdoor once you are trying to choose between a few things, Idealist.org, which is great for policy, and honestly, Google. Google is a great resource for just finding jobs. And something that might help you is creating a schedule for yourself where you set aside time to look and apply for opportunities. The fifth thing you're going to do is submit applications and actually apply. Make sure your resume is updated, bring it to a PCA, bring it to a lobe advisor, proofread, proofread, proofread. You don't want to submit that and see that it has a typo. Making sure you have cover letters and letters of recommendation if you need them, getting an official or unofficial transcript. And something you'll want to do is keep track of all of your applications. I personally recommend having a folder on your computer for them. And then if you want to repeat stuff from one application to another, it's easy to refer to them. Then the next thing you're going to do is once you've received an offer, give yourself time to think through if it's right for you. Will it actually help you achieve your goals? Is it something that fits in with your priorities? Is it something you feel a little conflicted about? Those are all things that you should really be thinking about. And then once you've accepted an offer and decided what you intend to do, you can start thinking through the logistics of that. If you need funding, you can contact the Loeb Center or the CCE. If you need to search for housing, the Loeb Center can also help you find housing potentially. And if you start working out the general logistics for where you're going to be moving, when you're going to get home over the summer, things like that. So over the next hour and a half, or hour-ish, we're going to go through the first 4 steps. The Loeb Center is going to be hosting workshops throughout the rest of the year to assist you with preparing for applications and interviews, deliberating on offers, thinking through logistics, and learning how to be successful. Always remember to check out Handshake and the career columns that go out every Sunday.
Yes.
I think it's Sunday. For more information and for more opportunities. There's some really cool things buried in there. So next we're going to do an activity with skills cuts. Woohoo.
So this activity is going to help us identify some things that we're proficient, highly proficient at and enjoy doing, some things that might create us to feel like burnt out, and some things that we identify some skills that we want to really work on our time here at Amherst. So if you, so everyone has one of those packets. Is anyone missing one? Anyone has one? Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is put all of the cards with the black borders down a line from totally delight in using, enjoy using very much, like using, prefer not to use, and strongly dislike using. And then we're going to do that first actually for the first 10 minutes. So I'm going to come around with cards. Yeah. I'll give you a pop-up card. This activity. Do you want to? I have one. Oh, you have it. Oh, no, you don't.
Yeah, just take that.
What purpose should that
Oh, I think you meant like
yeah. Also,
academic.
actually, multiple ways.
Right?
At the end of the semester, which is like really different from your timeline. Yeah.
I don't think I can watch
That's crazy. That's amazing.
I don't like it.
Oh, you're so on top of it. You're gonna be like cruising.
Well, I'm gonna go better.
I finally added my voice provider. Like, I get notified on my phone.
Ooh.
It's been a stressful experience.
Right. Oh my gosh, my thesis writer never emails me.
I know. In a relationship with me, everyone's supervisor's life.
Yeah. I know a lot.
She was like, this was pretty strong.
This like
I just started talking about she was going back to all of my eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like one sentence. It's not like 3 hours.
It's like one paragraph. And like, you're just gonna skip over it.
my gut researching online.
Yeah. Can't wait to the back. Yours is your
Oh, you're right. I don't forget.
I'm gonna be so embarrassed when I do this. I don't know.
No, I'm so good at talking. For real. When I found my grade 2 elementary school teacher,
You wanna?
I forgot 2000.
This usually we wrap this up.
I found an article of my grade 2 elementary school from 2000.
And in terms of the other slides,
Article with my
yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of like sharing out. In terms of the summer experiences, maybe we can like, do you want to start with internship and then I talk about like job shadowing and then talk about summer job and I talk about the job shadowing? Sounds good. It's just a lot of
Why? Where is it? I'll just keep this off. Turn is way up there. I'm gonna get some water after that.
Inject humor. I'm gonna inject. Therefore, yeah. Visualize. We're trading with this. Oh, yes. Actually,
I have just like a. Cell.
I don't know how to do it.
I'm gonna do like 1 more minute because there's a lot of people.
I was confused when I looked at you, and I looked at you, and then I looked back down. I looked back at
So if you're done sorting them into the 5 and the 3 columns, now you can identify the upper left, upper right, and the bottom left corners and write those skills in the packet that we handed out earlier. So they're the ones that are the purple boxes on the packet. I think I know. Oh my God, Chelsea.
That's what I had.
So do you want to have this like?
And I found that really doing
It was like eating. Eating, napping.
Supposed to write this? Did all this on top of that.
So I found out today that I'm good at 6.
Can we put them away after we've written them down?
Yeah, once you're done, you can put them into the box and I'll come out to collect them. I know I'm so tired.
All taking naps.
Oh, I see how it works. It's wireless. Oh, so it doesn't connect into a computer. It connects into a wall.
You know what? First we go.
I enjoy very much research for them. topic. I was like, Jenny, I like this number. And she like laughed. Okay, I put it in this black designer skill level for liquid numbers.
Okay, so as you're wrapping up, you can continue writing, but I'm just going to take some time so we can do some reflection on this activity. So the skills that are in the upper left corner in the purple box, these are your motivated skills. So they're the ones that will keep you energized if you use them in your work. And the ones that you are highly proficient in, but you strongly dislike using, you're really good at using these skills, but if you use them for too long, then you can easily get burned out. And so that's something to keep in mind in terms of, looking at experiences and different internships. And some skills that you like or even delight using, but
You need to develop them.
right. Those are some things that you can think about in terms of your time in Amherst, how you can cultivate them and reach out to different resources to improve those skills. So we're going to take some time to share with a partner these 3 questions. What is an example of a time you used a burnout skill? What is an example of a time you were able to use one of your highly motivated skills? And maybe this will be really helpful in terms of sharing information as to how you can help improve those skills that you want to improve on at Amherst. So we're going to take a few minutes to do that right now.
We'll take about 5 minutes for this.
Okay, yeah. Come back to the group. I'm just going to ask, what is an example of time you were
Oh, you're going to ask one?
Yeah, and then the last question, so that may be, and I can leave it a little bit.
And then you want to start at the beginning with the more values. Sorry, I should have kept this up.
No.
How about you?
Names are important.
Maybe next time. or are you about done?
Okay, so we'll wrap up our conversations and continue them as we come back to a large group. So does anyone want to share an example of a time you were able to use one of your highly motivated skills?
Anyone? Can be anything.
Does anyone want to volunteer a friend? Or talk about their friend's experience?
Very good. Or a very good lunch spot.
Okay, so maybe not so popular question. So the next question that might be like helpful as to share as a group is what are some things that you and your partner talked about in terms of identifying what you can do at Amherst to improve some of the skills that you identified earlier in the exercise? Does anyone want to share, please?
Or volunteer your friends.
Yeah.
You could try to like target classes that you may not feel like you're the best at, but take them as like an exploration, and like you have the option to take it pass-fail, so the results don't matter as much.
Yeah, that's a really good suggestion. Yeah.
Can join student organizations that have to do with your interests.
That's a really good way as well in terms of getting that experience and getting involved in an organization and putting that on your resume and being able to talk about that experience later in an interview, bring those skills to an experience. Yeah. Anyone else? Okay, so we're gonna move on to our next activity. That's called What Are Your Core Values? So if you flip over in the second, sorry.
Before we do that, to wrap up that last activity, now that you have a list of your skills, you can also use this info to help you really develop your resume and emphasize what you're strong at so that that's one of the first things an employer sees. And this can also help you decide what kind of work you might want to do and might want to avoid. Like if you're not a super mathy person, maybe avoid jobs that use a lot of that and would make you miserable.
Thank you, Monica. So now that we talked about skills, we're going to move on to values. So just as important as skills are in terms of identifying what you might want to pursue as a summer experience, your values are just as important. So sometimes knowing what might not be a good fit in terms of values is just as important as knowing what you do value. So in this activity, we're going to rank the 5 values that are most important to you from 1 to 5, and then we're going to mark an X next to the 5 values that are least important to you. And we're going to give you a few minutes to do that. I basically want everything from like 5 things. Like, I don't want a chance to get into politics, but I do want to make point distribution values. I don't need to make a big discovery, you know? I've never seen that version of other information. Yeah, you're right. Your mind is
not a policy.
Yeah, probably would be better.
She seems confident. Oh, congrats. Bernie Sanders won.
Oh, yay.
I'm shocked. All right, so we're now going to move on to we're now going to move on to a discussion at your tables around the questions on the slides. So the first one of those is, what was the process of rating your value? Yeah, basically discuss these questions among your group.
And we'll give you about like 5 to 7 minutes to just kind of hash out these questions amongst yourselves.
All right. Can we do names as well?
Names and introductions are also welcome.
And I'm Spencer.
Those are like all the ones that I look, but I also that age. It's more like idealist.
What I say, making mammoth plans. Like something saying making mammoth plans. So the plans are about multiple.
I wonder what it would be like. Do a big survey, and then like in 50 years,
You don't care about aesthetics. I don't care about physical activity. I didn't care No GPS?
They're not just a priority. I don't care about them as a priority. I'm not gonna I'm sorry.
So if anyone has any insights they'd like to share with the full large group, anyone want to share anything? Anyone want to volunteer someone to share something?
Was it easy or was it kind of hard? It was hard? Yeah. Did it kind of like align with your skills or did you find that they're kind of divergent? Kind of? Not really? Yeah. So during the internship search process, you're going to go through a lot of different opportunities and might end up applying to a lot of different ones as well. So it's important to think about not only what you value right now, but how you're going to craft your career path. And so this might be helpful to come back to later on after you've had an experience or as you start to like finalize your summer experience. And sometimes your values might conflict with each other and you'll have to make decisions about which you're going to prioritize at the time.
So throughout your time at Amherst and even beyond, you should periodically take time to reflect on your values, how they've changed, if they're aligning with your work, and if they're still really important to you. And this can really help you decide if you're in the right place and if you're doing the thing that's best for you. So next we're going to talk about defining your target. So before you think about searching for an internship or a job or research opportunity, it's really important to think about what exactly you would like to achieve, either by the time you come back to campus or maybe a year from now, or maybe 5 years out. Think in whatever terms are best for you. This is a really important step for a lot of reasons. It might help to think about it this way. When you and your family are thinking about going on a family vacation, or if that trip you've planned with your friends at the beginning of this workshop ended up panning out, you pick a destination by using a criteria based on what you want to achieve, like visiting family, having fun, soaking in the sun, things like that. You should treat selecting a summer experience the same way. Getting an internship or volunteering isn't the goal, it's the means to achieve a certain end, like narrowing down which career you want to pursue, learning a new language, building your resume, trying to further define your values. And so we're going to spend the next 20-ish minutes giving you all the chance to think about where you are right now and where you want to be over the next year.
So if you flip onto the next page, it's going to be past, present, and future. So you're going to spend a few moments traveling back in time, back to high school, thinking about everything you did then. So whether it be sports, the classes that you took and enjoyed, different extracurricular activities, and you're going to write those down. And then you're going to think about the present and what you're involved now, or what you might want to achieve in this semester or this year. And then we're going to think a little bit about the future and what you would have liked to accomplish by this time next year. And so you might not have like a really clear idea of what that might look like, but at least setting some goals for yourself to just kind of frame your mind in terms of finding like different experiences or opportunities on campus and off as well. So yeah, we're going to take some time to do that and write those down. And this will be helpful as well when we craft resumes in terms of like what industry you want to go into and how to craft your skills and really put them together to become like an appealing candidate.
All right, so assuming you've about finished that, spend the next 5 minutes thinking about what you spent a significant amount of time on during the fall 2018 semester. So this semester. What are things that you've completed and achieved by the time you finish final exams? Are there things you've started working on last semester and are still working on achieving? Anything new? Write them down in the column titled The Present.
That's going on a resume.
Did you sign in before? You did, perfect. Yeah, this way. Thank you.
I'm a failure.
All right, so finally, for next fall, what we want you to think about is come next fall, what would you like to have done or learned? Write down some of those things in the column titled The Future, and we'll give you about 5 minutes for that.
like a community college.
Just so that you.
Yeah, we found that out today.
Good.
I'll do internship and summer job. Sorry, are all of you done? So you're going to want to keep this handout for future reference and just to make sure that like throughout your time at Amherst you're accomplishing these and to keep in mind while you're looking for summer internships and opportunities. Next we're going to go over the types of summer experiences you can have, and we can move on to talking about how to best select the right experience based on your goals. In order to do that, we're going to explain kind of the four main choices you have, and you also should have something in your packets about this. I think it's titled, it's a handout detailing the types of summer experiences and Amherst resources. So the first one we're going to talk about, and the one you probably heard most about, is internships. Some companies are going to call like an internship a summer analyst position. So it does kind of vary by name, but it's an internship basically. So the definition is kind of a temporary structured opportunity that allows students to apply classroom knowledge and theory in a real life setting and to develop skills in a professional setting and to receive guidance and feedback from a professional in their given career field of interest. And the point of an internship is to learn and not necessarily be entirely productive, although you should always be doing your best work. There are a couple of benefits and advantages to this. You'll definitely get the inside scoop about the day-to-day life of working in your field of interest to decide if it's right for you. If you're looking at a specific company and you're interning there, you can decide if it's somewhere you'd like to go long-term after you graduate. The second one is that employers are looking for you to have some experience to demonstrate applied skills and knowledge when you apply for a job after graduation, and internships are a really good way to boost your competitiveness that way. So like if you're in computer programming, then you can do a computer programming internship, and that'll make you seem more appealing for jobs after you graduate. The third one is that many fields and companies have a clear practice or preference for recruiting full-time employees out of their intern pool. So for example, I'm going back to work full-time after I graduate at the company I interned at this summer, and that's a pretty common experience. And making a great impression now for an internship could make the job search senior year much easier and less painful for you. The last thing is you gain new contacts in your field to assist you in your future job search, even if you don't go back there after you graduate, and that gives you insight into unadvertised opportunities and provides you with references. Despite all of this, there's still a couple of obstacles and considerations for internships. There are paid and unpaid internships out there, and so sometimes you may be having a low-paying internship or you're not even being paid. And if you're in a high-cost city, especially New York or San Francisco, that can be challenging. But the caveat to this is that there is college funding up to $4,500 for qualifying internships. The second disadvantage to this is employers want students with like a demonstrated interest and experience in their particular field. However, if you're a first-year student, you may not have that yet, and that's where Amherst Select can really come in, but we'll talk about that in a moment. The part is that the internship search requires weeks of continuous commitment by searching and applying. You basically end up living on handshake. There are part-time internships available, but a lot more of them are going to want you to devote 8 to 10 weeks of your summer working about 40 hours a week. The last one is not every industry or career field requires or can support undergraduate internships. For example, if you're interested in like sustainable agriculture, it might make more sense for you to spend a summer working on a farm. And conveniently, I think Book and Plow has internships for anyone into sustainable agriculture. So the ideal student to do an internship is someone who has a career field or position in mind they would like to explore, some kind of prior work experience or significant extracurricular activities, someone who can find funding or support if unpaid and possibly handle living on their own for a few weeks, and can commit to spending significant time and effort searching for or completing an internship even if it's not paid. Next, we're going to talk about a summer job. So there's usually a question about the differences between an internship and a job. Internships are crafted almost solely on the intern's learning, even if that may interfere with the company's productivity. Jobs are all about productivity and the company's bottom line, regardless of whether you learn or grow or not. The benefits is that you will be paid minimum wage, practically guaranteed for every hour you work. You can find at least a part-time job in almost every location, or at least within driving distance. And so if you decide to go home for the summer, you more than likely can find a job. Many summer jobs don't require that you have a lot of experience or qualifications, and they might be willing to train you. And even if you don't think it's related to what you want to go into in the future, you may have a lot of transferable skills. And even if you don't, to go off of that, even if you don't find a job in your field, you can still develop the same kinds of skills one can find in an internship. And you also know that you can keep coming back to your job summer after summer if you like it, and you never know if that might turn into a higher level, higher paying job after you graduate. A couple of considerations are that your options for a summer job may not align with your career interests, which means you'll need to be creative. A second is that while you can find a part-time job in almost every location, not all of those jobs are going to be equal in quality, so you really have to do your research. The first is that not every company or organization that offers summer jobs for undergrads has opportunities for advancement, so you might not have the same opportunities with an internship. The last one is that because the job isn't focused on your professional development, you may miss out on some things that you would get in an internship. An ideal student for a job like this would have a need for work experience in order to gain skills and experience. You have a really high need to make money, although the Loeb Center does have options for unpaid internships. If your career interests are kind of unclear and you want a summer to just think about it, and an interest in exploring professional options outside of more typical internship experience.
So now I'll talk about research assistantships or independent projects. So this is a mentored experience in which you would work with either a professor or a graduate student at an institution. And even students in humanities can find research assistantships. I think a lot of times people are like, oh, I'm not sure if I can work under a faculty if it's not in a lab setting, but there are definitely, in Amherst exclusively, you have the Gregory S. Call research internships, and that's for a lot of humanities professors. Have students that work with them, some of them doing like maybe more things like organizing their research up to like being able to actually like bring in research and be published with the professor as well. So I think that's like what I've heard. So it's pretty cool. And this is definitely beneficial if you're thinking about pursuing graduate school or like a PhD. And so you'd be spending about 8 to 10 weeks working with the faculty member, the graduate student at an institution. And so this could really be a time where you show that you've had previous experience and confirm that you actually do really like the subject. And this is also really good because you get to build a really close relationship with that faculty member. And that can be good in terms of them being a mentor to you in that graduate school PhD application process. And they can also serve as a reference for you. So that's really important. And you can, of course, develop research and transferable skills. Just because you do research once in the summer doesn't mean that you are like holden to research and can only do research internships. You can definitely take the skills that you've learned in that opportunity and market them to a different industry as well. Some things to consider though is that they might be competitive, there might be like an application process that you need to go through, or that you might have to submit like a proposal. And I mean, that would say that you have to have some kind of experience beforehand. You've either worked with this kind of material in a classroom setting, or you've like worked in a lab before. And also you need to find a faculty member who is willing to work with you. So we do, like I said earlier, the Gregorius Call also the serve programs for first and second years where there are designated positions for first years and sophomores to work under faculty. So that's not as much of a hindrance here, but at other institutions you might need to reach out and have a conversation with them beforehand. So ideal students to pursue this opportunity have interest in career and research, plans to go to grad school or med school as well, or if you want to be able to produce or like have your name on a publication, as well as diving deeper into an academic field. And next is job shadowing. So job shadowing is extended informational interview with an observational component. So you're going to be following around either like a medical professional or in another like professional environment. So you would definitely get a lot of observational skills and being able to see what the job is like day to day, and also you would build a relationship with that person, right? And so that might be helpful in terms of like applying to grad school or med school later on, and it could be a really substantial learning opportunity as well. Some things to consider though is that you do need to have some flexibility and free time in terms of scheduling, because it's probably going to have to be catered to the professional, and you might have to travel for this position as well. So you also wouldn't be able to be compensated because you would be observing, but just because you do want to shadow doesn't mean that you can't pursue other opportunities. I mean, maybe you do a few weeks of like shadowing, and then you do maybe an 8-week internship in a different city or in the same city. And so, like I said, you wouldn't have as much opportunity to build skills as well, but sometimes that is something that you can put on your resume and showing that you have extensive experience in a certain field.
So questions you're going to want to ask yourself while you're trying to decide which path you want to go. Which summer experience do you think will help you achieve your goals for the year or longer term than that? So if you're trying to decide to go to med school, shadowing a doctor may be really good for you long term. If you're trying to decide about law school, interning in a law firm may be what you want to do. The other thing is, how do you want to schedule your time over the summer? Do you want to be working full time? Do you want to spend time with your family? Do you absolutely need to make money this summer as another consideration? Other things are, where do you want to spend your summer? Do you want to be in a city? Do you want to be home? Do you want to be at Amherst? How much does it cost to live here? What opportunities are there? And then what type of environment do you enjoy working in, and what activities do you like to perform the most? So going back to way at the beginning with the summer experience cycle, we're at the part of the workshop where we'll cover how to find resources and get organized and begin to prepare and submit applications. So there are plenty of places for you to search for internship opportunities, but it might be a little overwhelming at first to dive in. Here are some steps we recommend you take next. Making an appointment with a Loeb Center to talk about career exploration and internship planning, having your resume approved by either a PCA or a career advisor, which you may have already done, or even meeting with a PCA. We're happy to talk through options with you. Finish enrolling in Amherst Select, which it seems like you're all on the path to, and consider networking with other Amherst alumni, students, or your own personal network. Most internship opportunities outside of Amherst Select are kind of found for talking to people. And you're also going to want to begin developing your top 20 or so internship list, and then setting aside time each week to apply for internships.
So I would highly recommend setting up an appointment with a career advisor, either that be general advising or within a specific industry, even if you like have some of interest. So like even last year, I'm a senior now, so like in my junior year, I was still like, oh my gosh, I really don't know what I'm gonna do. So I set up a meeting with Laura, and I just like kind of talked about what I was interested in. She was like, oh, how about you take these steps? And I kind of like found my way, like taking the strengths class assessment and then the MBTI, and then I ended up like applying for a track, and then now I'm a PCA helping out other students who like might not know or have a really clear idea of what they want to do. So it's just like that path can look different for other people. That's kind of like my own personal path because I was super like shy, didn't know like where to go, so I just kind of like flung myself out there, and this is where I'm now. So definitely make an appointment, or even come into our PCA hours, just like Annika said.
They're generally 7 to 9 on weekday nights,
And
but you can
Dallas,
also
yeah.
just Google Loeb Center PCA hours.
On the internet. So what might be helpful, I don't know if they're in your packets, but creating a summer experience search timeline, so working backwards, so like, and by May or by April, I want to have this solidified, I want to have like an internship, or I want to have housing solidified. So in March, what are the steps I need to do? What are in December, like working backwards and seeing what you want to allocate your time doing in each week or in each month, because I know it's really busy and sometimes you can get like caught up in all the work and academic and extracurriculars and everything else you're like super busy with. So it might be helpful to have that guideline, just like stick it on like your desk or something, just to like keep it in your mind, and so you get a little bit of work done each week or each month. And I think that there's another resource called the Decision Matrix. So if you're still unsure about, so now like you have some offers, you have some options that you're considering. So if you're still unsure about what experience you'd like to pursue, you can use this worksheet to help you figure out like your values and your skills, and what might be the benefits and disadvantages of the different experiences that you have on the table. So in terms of search options, there are a lot of different ones. I think Annika mentioned them at the very beginning, just to review again. Handshake, of course, Google, okay, animation, Indeed,
Idealist.
Ideal, yeah. So that's like a lot of like nonprofit policy. LinkedIn also has, even though it seems the more like profiles, there are opportunities on LinkedIn.
And people on LinkedIn might also share opportunities that are available for you.
Glassdoor. So, oh, and we just went over this.
Yeah.
Okay.
At this point, we're going to, I think that you all already know the Amherst Select requirements. If there are any general questions or specific questions, we have a few minutes to answer them.
Yeah.
Sho and I will also be here for a couple of minutes afterwards if you have questions you'd like to ask us privately. Are there any questions? About literally anything?
Can you just go back one slide? Just
Back one side?
see those.
Yeah. Okay, so you've done this first step.
It's okay if you do it out of order.
Right. So make sure you attend an internship prep workshop. I believe like last year you had to go to like all three to enroll in the program. So now we've made it so that you attend one, you must, but you can also attend all three if you want. They're like super helpful in terms of like getting all these materials together. And make sure that your resume is reviewed and approved for Handshake, and you complete the application. Any other questions?
We'll also be here for a couple of minutes after.
Thank you.